When our leaders shake hands with terrorist leaders who've slaughtered tens of thousands of civilians, like Benjamin Netanyahu, it is stomach churning. When our Congress gives him standing ovations when he's a genocidal maniac and probably the largest terrorist leader in the world, it is stomach churning. But that's Netanyahu, not anyone else. They have a worse civilian kill ratio than Hamas or Hezbollah, and the IDF has murdered 100 times the civilians of Hamas and Hezbollah. By any definition, they're a terrorist state. But it's interesting because, as you point out, Shapiro and Levin, oh my God, we love Trump. Oh, he's not doing Israel's bidding anymore. We hate Trump. Did you know that Miriam Adelson, and that's why I called it Miriam's War, because her family paid over $317 million to Trump's campaigns to make sure that they got a war like this, and they got the war that they ordered. Now, all of a sudden, they say, oh, there's a problem with the war we ordered. Well, that's kind of on you and not on us. So I'll get back to that in a second. But did you know that Miriam Adelson and Larry Ellison used to donate to Bill Clinton before they donated to Donald Trump? Because they don't care about Democrats or Republicans, and neither does Shapiro or any of the Israel First pundits. They only care about their beloved Israel. And it's obvious. They don't change their position on taxes, on Social Security, on health care. They only change based on whether Trump is in favor of Israel's actions or against Israel's actions. So what you're seeing playing out in American media and the government is Team America versus Team Israel. So if you're on Team America, hey, they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. That was our only concern. The Strait of Hormuz is open. The economy is going to hopefully get a little bit better now, right? Than at least in the middle of the war, right? If we continue in the war, the economy is definitely going to get worse. Gas prices are going to go up. Inflation is going to go up, and it endangers the entire global economy. So as far as American interests are concerned, we should absolutely leave. And honestly, there's really no question about that. So the argument that the Team Israel makes now is, yeah, but what about Iran's proxies, Hamas and Hezbollah? To which I say, so what? Why are we basing our entire foreign policy on the needs of a country whose population is the size of Papua New Guinea? Why do we care what Israel wants in terms of, oh no, it has to wipe out everyone who might oppose their fascist empire in the Middle East. It has to destroy Iraq and Iran and all 7 of their neighbors and take more of Gaza, more of the West Bank. Now we owe them southern Lebanon? Why do we owe them southern Lebanon? And that's not defense, that's offense. They're stealing southern Lebanon. And no, we don't have to finance that. We have no moral or strategic or military obligation to Israel at all, which is a force for darkness in this world. In fact, literally every nation on earth is opposed to this war, except one, Israel.
You've repeatedly said you wouldn't trust the Iranian regime as far as you could throw them. According to this leaked agreement, they're going to get $300 billion, in fact, $325 billion. I wouldn't trust them to spend that how we'd like them to. Would you? Why would they not just do exactly what Hamas did when they were given billions funneled through and encouraged by Netanyahu?
The first thing I did say in my first answer was, this agreement better have an intrusive inspection and verification process. Otherwise, you're right, we can't trust them. And if we don't get that, then I will tell you I don't agree with this agreement.
Okay, let me bring in Lieutenant Colonel.
Can we have the same process for Israel?
Cenk,
I'll come to you, Cenk,
in a second. Inspection process for Israel?
Cenk, you're talking about genocide.
There is a country that has weapons of mass destruction, right? There's a country in the Middle East that's super dangerous, has attacked 7 of its neighbors, and already has weapons of mass destruction, and weapons that they stole from us. They stole the nuclear technology, they stole the uranium, they stole the nuclear triggers. That's Israel. So why are you not concerned about the out-of-control rogue state that already has a nuclear weapon and threatens all of their neighbors? And you're concerned with someone who doesn't have that and is now promising to never have that.
You can let me answer.
So by your standard, we should invade Israel.
Okay, 3 things I'd say. Look, I don't know what your relationship is with your country of birth, but you want to talk about genocide, let's talk about Armenia. And if you want to talk about not being able to
nice distraction. Yeah, I could talk about it.
Let me finish. And then the next issue is, if you talk about not going into Lebanon, in fact, Turkey over the last few years has established, just like the Israelis have in Lebanon, a foothold in the first 30 kilometers of Syria because they're afraid of the terrorism coming from the PKK. And then the third, I mean, just like Iran feels it's threatened. It's logical for them to want a nuclear weapon. You know why it's logical? When an Egyptian general told me, we're not worried about Iran because if they get a nuclear weapon, we're friends with them. You need to worry about Iran, about Israel having a nuclear weapon. And I said, look, if I had been invaded by every one of my neighbors repeatedly, maybe I'd have a nuclear weapon to protect me as well. It's pretty good deterrence.
Well, that's what's happening to Iran right now. So by your logic, Iran should have a nuclear weapon to deter Israel from invading it. I mean, you just said it. You said if you get invaded by your neighbors, like Iran is getting invaded by Israel right now, you would logically want to have a weapon of mass destruction. And this Kimmett is talking about how, oh my God, what if Turkey has a nuclear weapon? Turkey's a NATO ally. So you have a problem with a NATO ally being stronger, but you don't have a problem with a deeply hostile state like Israel that has attacked 7 of its neighbors, that has taken their land, having a weapon of mass destruction that they stole from us, and lording it over the Middle East. You know, they call this Team America, brother. We got no interest in Israel stealing southern Lebanon. Let's get the hell out of there. We have no interest in murdering Iranians on behalf of Israel. Let's get the hell out of there. And is anybody talking about gas prices, the food prices, affordability? Nobody cares about American citizens. You're all obsessed with Israel.
آنچه در مورد ما میگویند